First contact. The observation deck of orbital platform Athena offered the finest view of Earth humanity had ever constructed. Commander Elena Reyes stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the curve of her home planet gleam blue and white against the blackness of space. 6 years as commander of humanity's most advanced space station had not diminished her appreciation for that view. "They're on final approach, Commander," Lieutenant Wee said, breaking the silence. "Estimated docking in 17 minutes. Elena nodded, her dark eyes never leaving the viewport. "Alert all department heads. I want everyone at their stations." Today marked humanity's official introduction to the galactic community. After decades of listening to the stars, first contact had come unexpectedly, not from a crashed ship or mysterious signals, but from a formal diplomatic communique announcing that Earth had been under observation for years. The Galactic Assembly had deemed humans ready for preliminary assessment. Elena smoothed the front of her uniform. Assessment. The word carried implicit judgment, as though humanity was applying for membership in an exclusive club, which, in a sense, they were. Captain Miguel Ortiz joined her at the viewport, his normally jovial face uncharacteristically solemn. "Engineering reports all systems optimal. Dr. Chaudhry has the xenobiology team standing by, and security is positioned as discussed. And the special environments. Operational. The methane chamber for the Vrel representatives is maintaining 89% atmospheric concentration. The high-pressure habitat for the Carax delegation is stable at 17.2 atmospheres. The near-vacuum chamber for the Isfini observer is at 0.15 psi. Elena allowed herself a small smile. Creating environments to host species evolved for completely different worlds had pushed human engineering to its limits. The Athena station had been expanded specifically for this purpose, with 3 new modules designed to accommodate the alien visitors' biological requirements. "Commander," Wei called out, his voice tight with excitement. Visual contact established. The approaching vessel resembled nothing manufactured by human hands. It pulsed with shifting colors that seemed to flow across its irregular surface like liquid. No visible propulsion system, no external antenna or sensors, yet it navigated with impossible precision toward Athena's docking port. "All personnel to first contact positions," Elena ordered. "Let's make history." The delegation that emerged from the alien vessel consisted of 3 distinctly different species. The Vrel representative, Ambassador Zurl, moved on 4 articulated limbs, their insectoid exoskeleton gleaming metallic blue under the station lights. They wore what appeared to be a transparent bubble helmet filled with swirling greenish gas. Behind them came Diplomat Work of the Carax, a massive being with stone-like skin that shifted and resettled as they moved. Their environment suit appeared to be constantly contracting, presumably maintaining the crushing pressure their physiology required. The third visitor, Observer Nil of the Isfini, floated rather than walked, their translucent body rippling in the station's gravity. Wispy tendrils extended from their central mass, occasionally touching surfaces as though tasting the environment. Elena stepped forward. "On behalf of humanity and Earth, I welcome you to Orbital Platform Athena. I am Commander Elena Reyes." Ambassador Zurl's helmet emitted a brief flash, and a perfectly modulated voice emerged. "The Galactic Assembly acknowledges your greeting. We are pleased to begin formal assessment of your species' developmental stage." The meeting room adjacent to the docking bay had been prepared with separate environmental sections, allowing the aliens to remove their protective gear once inside their designated areas. Elena sat at the center of the human delegation, with Dr. Chaudhry to her right and Dr. Quaim, their xenolinguist, to her left. "Your habitat construction is surprisingly effective," Observer Nil commented, their voice a strange harmonic that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Though the materials appear quite primitive by assembly standards," Elena fought to keep her expression neutral. "We've only been constructing orbital habitats for 50 years. We still have much to learn." "Indeed," Ambassador Zurl chittered, antenna twitching in what Dr. Quaim had identified as amusement. Your technological development is quite typical for a Class 3 species. Class 3? Dr. Chaudhry inquired. Diplomat Verk's stony face shifted into what might have been a smile. The assembly categorizes all intelligent species. The classification determines rights, responsibilities, and resource access within galactic society. And what exactly constitutes a Class 3 species? Elena asked carefully. Environmental dependence. Observer Nil answered bluntly. Species unable to survive beyond narrow biological parameters without technological assistance. The implication was clear. Humanity ranked low in the Assembly's estimation. Ambassador Zerl projected a holographic display from a device on their exoskeleton. Images of human astronauts in their bulky EVA suits appeared, rotating slowly. Your spacewalk technology exemplifies Class 3 limitations, the ambassador explained. Your species requires constant environmental support, pressure maintenance, oxygen supply, thermal regulation, radiation shielding. Without these artificial means, humans perish within moments of exposure to space. Many species share similar constraints, Elena pointed out. Indeed, Cuthverk rumbled. Approximately 42% of assembly species fall into Class 3. However, most have developed far more elegant solutions. Observer Nil rippled in apparent agreement. Your environmental suits are remarkably inefficient. The energy expenditure required to maintain thermal homeostasis alone is excessive by assembly standards. Dr. Chaudhry leaned forward. Our suits are designed with multiple redundant systems to ensure astronaut safety. Redundancy indicates engineering uncertainty. Ambassador Zerl responded dismissively. Advanced designs achieve reliability through elegance, not duplication. The three aliens continued their assessment throughout the day, touring Athena's systems with thinly veiled condescension. They expressed particular interest in the station's life support systems, which they described as charmingly over-engineered. By the time Elena retreated to her quarters that evening, her diplomatic smile felt permanently etched onto her face. She found Captain Ortiz waiting in her office, a tablet in his hand. "Their assessment report?" she asked. Ortiz nodded grimly. "They shared preliminary findings with us as a courtesy. They recommend Earth be classified as a protected developing world. Limited technology exchange, restricted space travel outside our solar system, and mandatory assembly oversight for any further space development." Elena took the tablet, scanning the report with growing dismay. "They've already decided we're not worth taking seriously." "It gets worse," Ortiz said. "There's a scheduled EVA tomorrow to repair the communications array. They've requested to observe, apparently to document our primitive environmental adaptation techniques." Elena set the tablet down with deliberate care. "Then let's give them something worth observing." Crisis in the void. Lieutenant Dia Patil floated in the airlock, methodically checking her EVA suit systems. 18 years of spaceflight experience had taught her that no detail was too small when preparing to step into the vacuum. Behind her, specialists Jackson and Rodriguez completed their own checklists with the same meticulous attention. Oxygen cycling nominal. Cooling system engaged. "Com check. Athena control," Dia said. "Reading you 5 by 5, Lieutenant," came the response from Captain Ortiz, who was overseeing the EVA from the control room. "Our guests are in observation position, and quite interested in your preparations." Dia exchanged a glance with her team. They'd all been briefed on the importance of this particular spacewalk. Commander Reyes had been uncharacteristically blunt. "Our visitors think our suits are primitive. Let's demonstrate what human engineering can achieve." "Beginning depressurization," Dia announced, activating the airlock sequence. As the air gradually vented, she watched her suit telemetry with professional detachment. Internal pressure holding steady. Temperature stable at 21 degrees Celsius despite the rapidly dropping external temperature. Heart rate slightly elevated. Normal pre-EVA adrenaline. When the outer hatch slid open, revealing the vast emptiness of space, Daya felt the familiar mix of awe and focus that had drawn her to become an astronaut in the first place. Earth rotated majestically below them, while above, stars burned with unwavering clarity. EVA team has egressed the airlock, she reported, securing her tether. Beginning transit to the communications array. In the observation module, the 3 alien representatives watched with clinical interest as the human astronauts maneuvered through space. Their environmental suits, ridiculously bulky by assembly standards, moved with surprising grace in the vacuum. Note the inefficient propulsion system, Ambassador Zerl commented to their colleagues. Simple compressed gas. Most Class II species develop microgravitational field manipulators by this stage. Their thermal management appears particularly wasteful. Observer Nil added, tendrils rippling. I detect significant radiative heat loss from multiple points on the suit's exterior. Diplomat Thwork rumbled thoughtfully. Yet they maintain precise position control. Observe the lead human's micro-adjustments while anchoring to the structure. Commander Elena Rice stood nearby, listening to their commentary with carefully masked irritation. Our EVA suits represent decades of engineering refinement, she said. They're designed to protect against multiple failure scenarios while providing maximum mobility and comfort. A commendable achievement for your technological level. Ambassador Zerl responded with what might have been intended as encouragement, but came across as patronizing. Outside, Dia and her team had reached the communications array and begun their work. The array had suffered micrometeorite damage the previous week, requiring replacement of several circuit boards and a primary antenna element. Athena Control, we've reached the worksit, Dia reported. Beginning diagnostic sequence. As the EVA team worked, Elena noticed the alien observers becoming gradually more attentive. What had begun as clinical observation was shifting toward genuine interest. Your astronauts demonstrate considerable manual dexterity despite the restrictive garments. Observer Nil noted, tendrils pulsing in a pattern Dr. Quaim had identified as indicating surprise. EVA operations are among our most demanding specialties, Elena explained. Lieutenant Patel has logged over 2,000 hours of spacewalk time. Ambassador Zerl's antennae twitched rapidly. 2,000 hours. In vacuum. Before Elena could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. Red warning lights flashed in every module, and emergency shutters began closing automatically. Cascade failure in primary cooling system, a computerized voice announced. Critical thermal event in progress. All personnel proceed to emergency stations. Elena's training took over instantly. Athena Control, status report. Captain Ortiz's voice came through, tense but controlled. Coolant rupture in the primary loop, Commander. We're seeing rapidly rising temperatures in the reactor section and spreading to adjacent modules. Elena turned to the alien delegation. We need to move you to the emergency shelters immediately. Your environmental chambers may be compromised if the thermal event spreads. Our environmental requirements, Ambassador Zerl began, have been accounted for in our emergency protocols. Elena finished firmly. This way, please. As they moved through the corridors, the station groaned ominously. Elena could feel the vibrations through her boots. The structure was under significant stress. In the control room, displays showed the expanding thermal crisis. Captain Ortiz coordinated the emergency response, his voice steady as he directed damage control teams. EVA team, be advised we have a critical station emergency. He transmitted. Return to the secondary airlock immediately. Primary airlock access may be compromised. Outside, Dahlia received the message with professional calm. Copy that. Control. Securing tools and beginning transit to secondary airlock. As her team packed up, a violent shudder ran through the station. Dia watched in alarm as panels near their work area began to buckle outward. Control, we're observing structural deformation near the communications array. Possible imminent breach. Confirmed. Ortiz responded. Sensors show pressure loss beginning in that section. Accelerate your withdrawal, Lieutenant. The 3 astronauts pushed away from the array, using their maneuvering thrusters to propel themselves toward the distant secondary airlock. Behind them, with a silent flash of escaping air crystallizing in the vacuum, a section of the station's outer hull failed catastrophically. Inside the station, the situation deteriorated rapidly. Alina led the alien delegation through increasingly warm corridors, emergency lighting casting harsh shadows as they moved. "Your environmental chambers have been compromised," she informed them grimly as they reached the emergency shelter. The coolant breach affected their thermal regulation systems first. Ambassador Zerl's exoskeleton clicked with agitation. "Without proper environmental controls, we cannot survive longer than 6 hours. The pressure variations alone will cause severe physiological stress. Our methane atmosphere is highly combustible," added the ambassador, "if temperatures continue to rise." Elena nodded gravely. "We're aware. Our engineers are already working on temporary solutions." Outside, Daya's team had nearly reached the secondary airlock when another, more violent structural failure occurred. A massive section of the station's outer hull peeled away, sending deadly debris hurtling in all directions. "Evasive maneuvers," Daya shouted, pushing Specialist Rodriguez clear of a tumbling antenna segment. The debris field expanded rapidly, cutting off their planned route to safety. Daya quickly assessed their options. "Control, primary and secondary airlock approaches are blocked by debris. We're seeing significant structural damage across multiple station sections." In the observation module, now serving as an emergency command center, the alien representatives watched the external cameras with growing horror and fascination. The 3 human astronauts, tiny against the backdrop of catastrophic station damage, moved with surprising coordination through the expanding cloud of debris. Their environmental suits remained functional despite proximity to explosive decompression, Observer Nil noted with evident surprise. "Our models predicted significant thermal disruption in such conditions." Outside, Daya had reached a decision. "Control, we can't reach either airlock. Recommending we proceed to Emergency Habitat Module E. We can enter through the external maintenance hatch." "That's a 4-hour transit across the station exterior," Ortiz objected. "Your suit consumables show 8 hours remaining at current usage rates," Daya finished firmly. "We have sufficient margin, Captain." After a brief pause, Ortiz responded. "Approved, Lieutenant. Proceed to Module E." As the EVA team began their long journey across the damaged station's exterior, Ambassador Zerl turned to Elena in disbelief. "Your astronauts are voluntarily remaining in vacuum for 4 additional hours. The thermal stress alone should compromise their biological functions." Elena allowed herself a small, grim smile. "Human EVA suits are designed to handle far worse than this, Ambassador. We have a saying, prepare for the worst, hope for the best. A strangely pessimistic yet optimistic philosophy," Diplomat Thvork rumbled. "We call it pragmatism," Elena replied. "And it's kept us alive in space for over a century." Reclassification. Hour 3 of the crisis found Commander Elena Reyes in the makeshift engineering lab that had been established in the emergency shelter. Around her, engineers and scientists worked frantically to address the aliens' deteriorating environmental support systems. "The Esfini chamber has completely failed," Dr. Chaudhry reported, fatigue evident in her voice. "Observer Nil has perhaps 2 hours before cellular degradation begins." And the others. "The methane mixing system for the Vril environment is becoming unstable as station temperature rises. The Karax pressure chamber is holding for now, but if we lose power to the compression systems..." Elena nodded grimly. "What about our EVA team?" Captain Ortiz checked his tablet. "Still moving across the station exterior. They've had to detour twice around newly formed debris fields. Estimated arrival at Module E in 52 minutes. Their suit consumables: oxygen at 64%. Thermal regulation systems functioning within normal parameters. Lieutenant Pidle reports all team members are physically stable." The alien representatives have been listening to this exchange with increasing interest. Ambassador Zurl's antennae twitched continuously, a sign of agitation or perhaps intense thought. Your EVA suits maintain full life support for this duration as standard, the ambassador inquired. Standard duration is 8 to 10 hours, Alina confirmed. With emergency protocols engaged, they can sustain life for up to 24 hours if necessary. Impossible, Observer Nil responded, their translucent body rippling in what Dr. Quaim had identified as the Espheni equivalent of shock. The energy requirements for such prolonged thermal homeostasis in vacuum would be prohibitive. Dr. Chaudhry looked up from her workstation. Our suits use a multi-layered approach to thermal management. The innermost layer uses a liquid cooling garment, water running through tubes near the skin to absorb body heat. The middle layers provide insulation, while the outer layer is designed to reflect radiation in sunlight and retain heat in shadow. Primitive but remarkably effective, Diplomat Thvork acknowledged, their stony features shifting into what might have been respect. Elena watched this exchange with growing awareness. The alien's perception of human technology was changing before her eyes. Outside, Lieutenant Daya Patel guided her team through a particularly dense field of station debris. A fragment of solar panel tumbled past, missing Specialist Jackson by centimeters. Careful movement, team, she cautioned. We're entering the most damaged section. Lieutenant, Rodriguez called out, pointing ahead. Look. A massive breach had opened in the station hull, revealing the interior of what had been the aliens' environmental chambers. The specialized equipment, some of the most advanced technology humans had ever created, floated in ruins, exposed to vacuum. Control, we have visual confirmation that the xeno-environmental systems are completely compromised, Deer reported. No chance of repair. In the emergency shelter, Elena received this news with grim resignation. She turned to the alien representatives. We need to consider alternative solutions. Your environment chambers cannot be restored in time. Ambassador Zurl's exoskeleton clicked rapidly. Without our specialized environments, we cannot survive until rescue arrives. The assembly vessel will not return for 7 of your days. Elena exchanged a glance with Dr. Chaudhry, who nodded almost imperceptibly. We have a proposal, Elena said carefully, one that our engineers believe could work, though it has never been attempted before. We're listening, Diplomat Thvork rumbled. We modify our EVA suits to accommodate your physiological requirements, Dr. Chaudhry explained. The suits have proven thermal and pressure management capabilities in vacuum. With adjustments, they could maintain your required environments. Impossible, Observer Nil rippled dismissively. Your primitive containment vessels could never. The same primitive vessels that have kept 3 humans alive in vacuum for nearly 6 hours now. Elena interrupted sharply. The same technology you dismissed as inefficient and inelegant. The aliens fell silent, their species-specific expressions unreadable to human eyes. Our EVA suits are designed with multiple redundant systems, significant margins of safety, and adaptability to changing conditions, Elena continued. Those very features you criticized as over-engineering may be what saves your lives. After a moment of silent communication among themselves, Ambassador Zurl spoke. We accept your proposal, Commander Reyes. The next 12 hours witnessed an unprecedented engineering challenge. As the EVA team finally reached safety in Module E, the station's technical crew began the delicate process of modifying spare EVA suits to support alien biology. For the Vrel representative, they reconfigured the oxygen generation system to produce methane instead, adding specialized filters to remove the toxic byproducts of Vrel respiration. The Karax diplomat's modified suit included reinforced pressure plates and hydraulic compression systems salvaged from maintenance robots, creating a portable high-pressure environment. Most challenging was Observer Nil's adaptation, requiring near-vacuum conditions with specialized gas mixtures that Dr. Chaudhry synthesized from available chemicals. These modifications violate at least 15 design parameters, Chief Engineer Raman muttered as they worked. but they should hold. When the modified suits were finally ready, the aliens regarded them with a mixture of trepidation and wonder. "You created these adaptations with salvaged parts in under 12 hours?" Ambassador Zurl asked, antennae quivering in apparent astonishment. "Human engineering at its finest," Alina replied without false modesty. "Adaptability is our greatest strength." The true test came when the aliens donned their modified EVA suits. Ambassador Zurl's insectoid form disappeared into the bulky human-designed equipment, now repurposed to maintain a methane-rich, high-temperature environment. The ambassador's vital signs, monitored through hastily adapted sensors, stabilized almost immediately. One by one, the aliens found their biological needs met by technology they had dismissed days earlier as primitive and inefficient. 3 days later, when the assembly vessel returned to evacuate the damaged station, they found humans and aliens working side by side in EVA operations, clearing debris and salvaging critical equipment. The alien representatives, still in their modified human suits, moved through vacuum with growing confidence. In the final meeting before their departure, Ambassador Zurl formally addressed Commander Reyes and her senior staff. "On behalf of the Galactic Assembly, I am officially revising Earth's classification from Class 3 to Class 1 Adaptive." "Class 1?" Alina asked, eyebrows raised in surprise. "Species demonstrating exceptional technological adaptability and engineering innovation," the ambassador explained. "While humans remain environmentally dependent in biological terms, your technological solutions demonstrate an adaptability that exceeds many naturally resilient species." Diplomat Kthvork rumbled in agreement. "We had incorrectly assessed redundancy as inefficiency. We now recognize it as an evolutionary strategy, using technological means to ensure survival against multiple failure scenarios. The Assembly has much to learn from human engineering approaches," Observer Nil added, their translucent form now comfortably housed in the modified EVA suit, particularly in emergency response and adaptive design. After the aliens departed, Alina stood again at the observation deck viewport, watching Earth rotate below. The station remained damaged, its full repair likely to take months, but the crisis had transformed humanity's place in the galactic community. Captain Ortiz joined her, offering a tablet displaying the Assembly's official report. "They're recommending a technology exchange program focused on environmental engineering," he said with barely contained excitement. "They want our suit designs, Alina. The same primitive technology they'd mocked 3 days ago." Alina smiled, watching as a standard EVA training exercise proceeded outside the viewport. The astronauts moved with practiced efficiency, their bulky suits gleaming in the sunlight. "Sometimes the simplest solutions are the most elegant," she said quietly. "We designed our suits to keep us alive in the most hostile environment humans had ever encountered. We built in redundancies not because we lacked confidence, but because we respected the dangers of space. And now the galaxy respects us," Ortiz finished. Alina nodded, her gaze fixed on the floating astronauts. "They thought humans would freeze in space until they saw our suits in action."